Hi, welcome to the Art of Yoga with Cat Justice, and this is going to be an amazing 20 to 30 minute practice. It's restorative yoga. It's the best. It's like yoga chocolate. So for those of you who love the end of yoga class where you get to rest in Shavasana and just let everything go, this is like that amplified. So the whole point of restorative yoga is to do less. So we are going to use tons of props. If you have a whole yoga collection of bolsters, blocks, sandbags, straps, everything, pull it all out. If you're like, I don't have any of that, get a bunch of blankets. So all of these poses can be done with these fancy yoga props, or they can be done with blankets that are folded and stacked. So, so you don't actually need a lot of yoga equipment if you've got a lot of blankets. So go ahead and get at least 6 blankets if you don't have them, maybe even more depending on how much support you want for your body. It's also going to be a very personal practice, so feel free to adjust how many blankets, adjust the height of the props, so that you can really feel yourself letting go. And I'll give some guidance as to how to set everything up. And then also know if I don't stay in the pose as long as you'd like to stay in it, you can have your computer or whatever you're watching this on close to you so that you can pause it and stay longer if you're in a happy place. Or if you're like, I'm ready to move on, you can scroll ahead and do it at your own pace. However long you want to stay in each pose, that's your choice. Awesome. Okay, let's begin. So we're going to start in a restorative with a little inclined plane. So if you've got a bolster and a block and you want to set it up, great. Otherwise, you're going to take some blankets, just like this one, and stack them. So you want to fold them in kind of a rectangular shape and stack probably between 4 to 6 blankets so that you make a nice little inclined plane. So you scoot each blanket back a little bit, kind of like a stair step, maybe fold an extra one at the top for your head to rest on. And then for under your knees, if you've got, like me, a gazillion yoga props, you can use an extra bolster or you can use a blanket rolled under your knees. And this is a yoga practice that you can keep your socks on. So you can keep your feet warm if your feet tend to get cold. Hi, Lotus. She's really good at restorative yoga. You are kind of an expert at it. And she tends to like when I do it too, because she comes to restore her energy along with me. So we're going to start out with something under your knees, whether it's a bolster or a rolled blanket. And you're going to scoot on up so that your sacrum, the small of your back, is right up against this inclined plane, bolster or stacked blankets. And then you are going to slowly, carefully lie back. Let your arms rest, palms facing upward. Oh my goodness, this feels so good. And let your body go. So you're going to close your eyes and feel the weight of the support from underneath you. Feel the weight of your body just melt into that support. It might not feel very natural to have the palms facing upward on the hands, but just give it a try. Feel your breath dropping down into your belly. Feel your whole spine melt into the support underneath you. As you breathe here, just noticing where your breath is living inside you. If it's coming up into the chest, if it's in the rib cage, in the belly. And allowing that breath to drop deeper into the belly so that as you inhale, your belly is going to expand and open. As you exhale, it will soften back in. Noticing the pacing of your breath, let it slow down. Especially your exhales, let your body take a little longer with each exhale. And as you rest here, just noticing if there's places where you're resisting the pose, where your shoulders kind of pulling up away from the ground. Is there tension in your neck or your jaw? And again, the whole point with restorative yoga is to do less. Feeling some of that tension melt out of the chest, the shoulders, the upper back. Softening through the jaw. Think of resting the jaw with the lips together but the teeth slightly apart. And again, feel free to stay here. So you can pause the video and stay a little longer if your body needs a little more of this. We're going to come back to this pose near the end of the practice though. So just know that we're going to come back here again because this is a really lovely place to be. But you're going to slowly, when you're ready, just wiggle some fingers and toes, maybe little circles for ankles and wrists. And eventually you're going to just gently walk your feet up from out of whatever supports behind your legs and gently roll over to your right side. And as you roll off to the right, we're going to set up for our next pose, which is a little bit of a twist. So you're going to scoot that right hip so that it's right up next to the bolster. From here, some people like to have a little support between the knees. So this is a nice time you can use a pillow or even just one of those little folded blankets between your knees to just give a little more support to your back if that feels good. But you're going to scoot that right hip right up next to the bolster. Take your hands, one on either side, and then you're going to breathe in and feel your heart lift as if you could kind of reach your heart up towards the top. And then as you exhale, you just gently walk your way down. You want your head to turn in the same direction as your knees and let your arms relax. So some people, for that top shoulder, so what's this, the left arm, they like a little bit more support there. So you can use another blanket under that top arm. You can use a bolster and let it rest on that. But from here, now you're going to let your torso be heavy. Closing the eyes so that you can really savor the pose. Talk about it like, again, like this is yoga dessert. So you want to think about, like, you don't want to miss a moment of it. You want to really breathe and enjoy that feeling of letting go. Feeling your breath moving into your lower rib cage, your lower back. Let your arms be heavy. Let them just really melt into the floor. Let the full weight of the head rest into the blankets or the bolster. And again, feel free to pause the video. If you want to stay a little longer, you can. But if you're ready to come on up, you're just going to gently walk your hands back under your shoulders. Think lengthen through the spine. Stay long as you inhale and rise up. And then to take the other side, you're just going to flip your body around so that it's the left hip tucked right up against the bolster. And you can keep that support of something between the knees or the lower legs if that feels good. You take your hands, one on either side of the bolster. Again, think about reaching your heart long, like it's going to lift up and over, but your head stays turned in the same direction as your knees as you exhale and melt down. Once again, let your torso be heavy and let your body just melt into it. Let your arms relax, your head. Slow your breath down. Especially slowing down those exhales. Let the exhales take a little longer than the inhales. And then again, slowly lengthen the spine, lift the heart as you walk yourself up. And then releasing to come onto hands and knees. And we'll take it into a restorative child's pose. So for restorative child's pose, oftentimes the height of the blankets or the bolster needs to change. So for some of you, it might make sense to take the block away and just have, like 3 stacked blankets, maybe more though. But you just build up as much support as you need so that when you come forward, you feel like your body can really let go. If as you come forward, your hips are way lifted, that's a sign that you're going to need more support under you. So either keep that block under it or keep some blankets stacked. Some people like to do restorative child's pose with a blanket under their hips. That can work too, to give you a little bit more support. But however you're comfortable, you're going to come on down. Go ahead, turn your head to the right. And just let your hips and your body melt. Again, restorative yoga, it's the process of undoing. We're letting go. We're trying to do less. Now really feel your breath dropping low into your back, as if you could breathe into your sacrum or your pelvis, deep into the lower back. As you inhale, it expands. As you exhale, it softens. And the arms can be forward, or if it feels more comfortable to rest the arms back, feel free. Slowing down the exhales. As we slow down our exhalations, it's a really nice way to trigger that natural relaxation response, the antidote to our fight or flight. As you breathe into your back, just feel your breath moving almost like a massage. If there's anywhere that feels tight, achy, or sore, breathing into those spots. And then when you're ready, you can just gently turn your head to the left. The neck might feel a little tight when you first turn it, and that's okay, as long as it's not too unpleasant. But you just want to feel your body soften into it, and it'll feel more and more comfortable. This is one of these poses, if you have a friend to help you, you can have a sandbag on your hips, or if you can figure out how to position it, woo-hoo, that can feel nice too. Can be on the hips, or you can do the sandbag straight down the spine. Sometimes that feels nice too. When you're ready to come up, you're just going to inhale and slowly roll on up the spine. And we're going to come to seated. We're going to do a supported forward fold. So if you've got a blanket, nice to sit up on it just to give your back a little bit more support in this. And if you're like, I don't usually use a blanket to sit on, this is restorative yoga. Let's use a blanket to sit on. Let's give ourselves all the advantage. So as we come into this forward fold, it's not a wide angle. It's not a Paschimottanasana. It's like those two poses had a baby. So you just take your feet in just a comfortable kind of smaller V-sit. And you are going to use as much support as your body wants. So for some people, you might take a couple blocks to really kind of build up this inclined plane so that you can, I sometimes like to just interlace my hands and just kind of hold the block steady. If it's up that high, turning the head to one side, or you're like, oh no, I can kind of rest down a little bit deeper, maybe take the block to a lower height. But what we don't want is like that deep hamstring stretch. You're going to feel a little bit of a stretch in the backs of the legs, but you want enough support under your body so you can melt into it. The point of restorative yoga isn't to stretch. The point is to let go. So if we're in a deep stretch, on some level, our muscles are going to be holding on. So not a deep stretch. You just turn your head comfortably to one side, and again, let your body melt. Feel the support of the bolsters or blankets underneath you. Palms of the hands can face down or up, or again, you can interlace the hands and just kind of like nestle them in to keep the block steady. Again, think about sending your breath all the way down into your hips. Turning your head the other direction. If you notice your body tightening or holding on, again, think of those long, slow exhales. Let everything melt away. Lengthen the spine. Inhale, gently, slowly rise it on up. And then from here, we're going to come into a restorative bridge. You can move blocks and things aside. And again, we're going to come to that either like 3 to 6 blankets stacked on top of each other or a flat bolster to come onto our backs. So as you come onto your back, maybe you want to take a moment to just hug the knees into the chest. And since this is restorative yoga, sometimes it helps to have a little support under your neck. So if you want to take the blanket and roll it into a comfortable little neck roll. When we're in bridge pose, we want to really protect our necks. We don't want to smush our neck. So the little roll under the neck can be nice to help give it some support for that natural curve. But then you're going to take the bolster, and you can do this with a block too. But when we're doing restorative yoga, I really like using the bolster just because it's even more support than a block would be. But you're going to roll up to bridge. Do that same like rolling up the spine movement. And then maybe you have to rise up onto your heels to slide the bolster under. There can be a little bit of negotiation happening in the body to figure out how to nestle in comfortably, and that's fine. From here, the bolster goes as far up your back as it's comfortable. So for some people, it might be really far down, like just under your sacrum. For other people, it might feel more comfortable to bring it up. Let the arms rest, palms up. From here, maybe you want to stay where you are, or maybe you want to see what it would feel like to slowly straighten the legs. If the legs feel like, whoa, they're flip-flopping off the bolster, Another option, somewhere I've got one, woohoo, yoga strap. I told you we're going to use everything. You can strap up the legs so that they stay together and they're not going to roll off. It's a really nice way to just get some deeper release through the hips. Slowing the breath down. If it feels like your lower back is pinching, it's a good sign that maybe your feet need to come back up. But since this is restorative bridge, the ankles don't have to be right under the knees or anything like that. Just want to feel this really nice opening through the front of the hips, through the belly, softening everywhere. Let the breath drop down low as if you could breathe all the way into your pelvis, into your hips. Soften the face, the jaw. Restorative yoga can really be a meditation practice, really delving into the moment with all this stillness of the body. If your mind starts to wander or starts to kind of run in circles like a hamster on a wheel, it's a great time to just anchor it back to your breath, back to those sensations of the body, back to the sense of letting go. Again, feel free to pause the video and stay here longer. But when you're ready, you're going to slowly bring the legs back up. If you've got the strap around the legs, you can slide her off. From here, you just go ahead and roll to one side. And we're going to come into a really beautiful rib cage and side body opener. For this one, you're going to want, again, those stacked blankets or a flat bolster. And we'll add in other props as needed. So from here, the bolster is going to go kind of right where the waist and the rib cage come together on one side, so that we can get this really nice deep opening on the other side. And as you come down, if you want, you can make a little pillow for your head with your bottom arm and reach through your top arm. You can keep your knees bent, or if you want, reach and straighten through the legs. This one's a little bit more active. From here, what we want to get is this opening through the top side of the body. If you're not feeling very much opening, maybe you need a bigger support under you. So maybe you need to stack another blanket on top, and then you'll get a little more opening. As you reach through the legs, the top leg should be behind you. Really send your breath into those rib cage, into the ribs on the top side of the body, whatever side you're doing. This one's a little more active because there is this sense of really reaching through the legs. But let it be passive in the neck, the shoulders, the head. And then slowly draw the legs back in, lifting and lengthening as you come up. And to take the other side, you just flip to the other hip. From here, again, the support comes in that space where the rib cage and the waist come together, lower rib cage, and drape yourself over it. And you can make a little pillow to rest your top head on with the bottom arm. You can reach through the top arm. You can keep your knees bent, or you can reach through the legs. Breathing and opening right into that outer rib cage, the top side of the ribs. And bend the knees and slowly come on back up. And from here, we're gonna build into a twist. For this twist, we're gonna lie on our back. So again, if you like to have a little support under your neck, feel free to make a little neck roll. And then for this one, a lot of us are gonna want a bigger bolster or maybe a good like 6 to 8 blankets. For some of us, we'll need quite a few blankets to support that top leg. You won't know how many till you're there. So you can come onto your back. And from here, we're gonna have that support onto think about this, on our left side. So stack the bolsters of the blankets over on your left side and then scoot your hips over to the right. Just one little scoot. Your left leg goes straight, your right leg draws up, and it comes across until it can rest on that support. If that right shoulder is coming off the ground, that means you need more support under your top leg. So you want enough support under the top leg so that this right shoulder can melt down. You're going to let your arms just relax open, and you can look up, you can look to the left, or you can look to the right. From here, again, close your eyes and let your body melt. If you're feeling a deep stretch in this pose, it means you probably need more support under your top leg. And it is okay to have like, the leg way up in the air. Just keep building support. Pull some cushions off your couch. They work great for this one. Give your body what it needs. Feel free to pause the video so you can really set it up and then keep going once you got that set up. This is a great thing to do to your body, to your mind, at times when your life is moving more quickly than you'd like it to. It's a great way to slow things down. Again, feel free to stay longer. When you're ready to come out, just gently roll back onto your back, moving slow. Scoot the hips back to midline. Scoot all of the support that you've got over to your right side. And then the hips are going to go to the left. Right leg straightens, left knee draws up and comes over until it can rest on the support. There might be a difference from one side to the other. You might need more support under this left leg. You might need less. Whatever it is, you're going to let your arms open out. Make sure that left shoulder is touching the floor. And then close the eyes. Turning the head right, left, anywhere in between. Again, think less about a stretch and more about softening. Letting your body melt into the support given to you by the earth, by the props. Notice if there's holding or tension going on in the glutes or in the pelvis. Think of using your exhales to melt it away. Again, feel free to stay, but when you're ready to come out, just slowly roll back onto your back. Scoot the hips back to midline. Maybe give your knees a little hug into the chest, rock side to side. And then I know I said that we would come back to that first reclining pose, so let's do it. Let's come back to it. So you're gonna make your little incline plane again. I like to do it with the flat bolster and the yoga block. And you can have that yoga block at any of the 3 heights. Usually the middle height is a nice one, but it's whatever works for you. And then you're going to have another either bolster or rolled up blanket, and maybe you need 2 rolled up blankets. You want kind of a big thicker roll for under your knees, but this time we're going to come into Supta Bandha Konasana, reclining bound angle. You're going to let your knees, your feet come together and your knees open out. You can also do this with a really big yoga strap looped around the waist and around your feet. You can do it with 2 blocks or other supports kind of tucked under your thighs. But however you're supporting your legs, you just let your knees open and your body is going to rest back. Sometimes people like some support under their arms, maybe a couple pillows under your arms or folded blankets. Once again, let your body melt into the support that you're giving it. Slow the breath down. Slow down the exhales. Soften the forehead, the temples, the jaw, the throat. Again, you don't want to be in a deep stretch for this pose, so if it feels like you're getting this really deep stretch through the hips or the groin, give more support for under your knees. You want the hips to just be able to relax into this, not have to stretch. Maybe you just want to stay here. This might be your last pose that you do. And you can just stay here for the whole rest of the video and skip legs up the couch or legs up the wall. Or if you're really in the mood for a final restorative inversion, you can slowly bring the knees together and come on over to one side. You don't sit straight up, roll to one side, and then come on up for our last pose. So for our final pose, legs up the wall, legs up the couch, however you want to do it. You can have the support of a chair, a couch, or you can do this up against a wall. So if you're doing it up against a wall, we're going to imagine that my couch here, it's a wall. Oh my gosh. So however your body is comfortable, you're going to bring a little bit of support for under your hips. And sometimes this bolster is too much. Sometimes you might just want 1 or 2 stacked blankets, so you can kind of feel it out. But you want a little bit of a gap between the wall or the couch and the bolster. This is always a little bit precarious to get into, but once you're in it, it feels really good. My couch is kind of low, so I like to add in a little more support for my legs on it. But if you've got a higher couch, maybe you're fine. Or if you're doing it without any support under your hips, usually even a low couch is the right height. But you're going to scoot so that you are sitting up on this support that you've got here. And you might have like your sort of hips kind of a little bit off the bolster or the stacked blankets as they come right up against the wall or right up against the couch. There's no super graceful way to move into it, but you're going to swing your legs on up and bring your body on down. So if you're in legs up the wall, maybe the legs are straight up the wall, maybe you want to take them out into a V or bring the feet together back into that bound ankle position. And if you're in legs up the couch like me, you just let them rest. Arms at your sides. If you've got, a blanket handy, you can roll it for under your neck. Give that support back under your neck. Soften through the arms. Soften through the chest. Soften through everything. One of the great things about this inversion is that when you get your legs and your hips higher than your heart is going to feel the weight of all that fluid just gently resting onto it. And the heart is smart. Our heart has a brain. And that brain in our heart is going to realize that it no longer has to work so hard. Because normally when we're upright, our heart is pumping and it's pulling all that fluid up through the legs. And so when we're upside down, gravity is doing that work. Our heart is smart and it realizes that. So it says, hey, thanks gravity, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to relax. So you might feel your heart rate starting to slow down. And the brain in our heart can communicate with the brain in our brain. And so as the heart rate slows down, it tells the rest of us, hey, you can slow down too. Again, triggering that parasympathetic nervous system, our relaxation response, the antidote to fight or flight. Again, you want to make sure in legs up the wall especially that you're not in a deep stretch position. If you feel like you're getting a deep stretch in your hamstrings, maybe you need to scoot back away from the wall a little bit. And you can stay here for forevers. You can just hang out. Pause the video, stop the video completely, just stay here. Again, using this as almost like a little meditation practice. Noticing when your body is still, if your mind starts to race around or jump around. Just gently guiding your awareness back to the body. Just noticing how good it feels. Yoga chocolate. Savor it. Feel free to stay, but when you are ready to come out, you're going to slowly wiggle fingers and toes, rotate wrists and ankles, being really languid, really lazy in your movements. Let them be slow and heavy. And you're just gently going to roll onto your left side, if that's available to you. If not, the right side is fine too. But you're going to roll off of all the support, maybe keeping something for under your head, or you could just tuck that bottom arm under your head. Let your body rest on your side here. If you were in legs up the wall especially, at least 3 breaths, but usually even 5 to 10 breaths. Just give your heart that chance to reset, to recover, to wake back up. Taking your time, and when you're ready, coming on back up. Well, thank you so much for restoring with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you feel slower and calmer and just a little more soft inside your body. And feel free to check out all my other videos and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening or whatever you've got. Namaste.